The Gentle Art of Tramping, Chapter 4, Clothes, in two sections. First, Attire, and the second, Motley. Right, so the first section, Attire. "Needy knife grinder," said the poet, "your hat has got a hole in it, and so have your breeches." That was not necessary. You should carry a housemaid's tidy, or whatever it may be called, the tiny compendium of needles and thread sometimes offered upon hotel dressing tables, and sew up the holes. I fear the knife grinder's hat was of felt, a broken billycot hat, but we tramps have nothing to do with felt hats. The bowlers and the derbies and the trilbies are not our style. There was a time when men tramped in shovel hats, and I can see Parson Adams trudging along, his lank locks crowned with his lugubrious headgear, and Abraham Lincoln walked abroad in his rusty topper. But we have changed all that. We tramp in tweed hats, or caps, or without hats at all. We do not feel superior, but we know we are more comfortable. Also, we no longer wear cravats. In fact, a collar and tie may be secreted in a pocket of the knapsack, but be unwillingly put on when it is necessary to visit a post office or a bank, a priest or the police. But otherwise we go forth with free necks and throats, top button of shirt preferably undone. And we do not tramp in spats or gaiters, nor in fancy waistcoats. The waistcoat is an article of attire which can be cheerfully eliminated as entirely unwanted. Undervests also are rather de trop. There are many things a man can shed. I am not qualified to say what a woman can do without, but she needs no hat with feathers and no hat pins. As I think of her in the wilderness, it seems to me that she can get rid of everything she commonly wears, with the exception perhaps of a hairnet, and then dress herself afresh in rational attire. The green and brown misses in the lovely garnish of boys are now so familiar in the United States that it is almost superfluous to describe them. A khaki blouse and knickers, green puttees or stockings, and a stout pair of shoes are almost everything. Very simple, very practical, and if one must think of looks while on tramp, not unbecoming. Materials are more important than shapes. A homespun, a tweed, a cord are better than flannel or serge or shoddy cloth. Tramping is destructive of material. Sun, rain, campfire sparks, and hot smoke seem to reduce the resistance of cloth very rapidly. After a month, a sort of dry rot will show itself, and as you go through a wood, every rotten stick or tiny thorn you happen to touch will tear a tatter in your trousers. It can be annoying and amusing. When I am tired of looking at the view, I look at your trousers, said Lindsay to me in the Rockies. Here's the virtuous superiority of green corduroy, I in old clothes which I thought I might as well wear out on tramp. I certainly wore them out. In fact, we had to turn from the wilds towards civilization, and the poet bought me a ready-to-wear pair of cowboys' bags. But workmen's trousers, suspended by workmen's braces, are the best. Braces marked for policemen and firemen are sold in the United States. They are undoubtedly stout and will stand the strain of many jumps. You will have a cozy feeling of nothing defective in your straps, a feeling akin to that of a good conscience, might to be desired. What remains? A jacket. It may as well be a tweed one, with half a dozen roomy pockets. I once saw a character reader at a fair who said, "Show me your hat, and I will tell you who you are." He had plenty to guide him. I gave him mine. He said, "You, sir, are a thinker. Your thoughts have been oozing out of your head, and have spoilt an excellent lining." He held my hat up to the crowd. "This is the hat," said he, "of a man who buys at the best shop, but wears his hat a very long while. He is both proud and economical, and is probably a Scotsman." Had I taken off my jacket, he could probably have told me a good deal more, made bulgy with books, yet pinched by clips of fountain pens, ink-stained, wine-stained, sun-bleached and rain-washed, fretted by campfire sparks, frayed and yet not torn by envious thorns. The whole well stretched, well slept in, well tramped in. The other parts of one's attire wear out, come and go, but the jacket remains, granted a good sound, indestructible jacket. Such a jacket is warm wear. No, not in the morning, not for some hours after sunrise, not in the evening, not during the twilight hours. During the heat of the day, if you wish, you can take it off, and, tying it into a neat bundle, fix it to the knapsack. It is pleasant to have the air break fresh on one's perspiring chest, but the warm jacket is your friend, and after 2 days out of home, you understand it. The stout jacket stands by you in the hours when you need support. You soon get used to its weight, and its thickness helps to bed the knapsack between the shoulders. Carlyle wrote a book on clothes, the inwardness of which was that man, the straggling, bifurcated animal, discovered in Eden that he was really ugly and ashamed to be seen, and he has been trying to hide himself ever since, in fig leaves and phrases, phylacteries and philosophies, that shall provide the tramp's motto, a fig leaf and a phrase. But, oh, Sartor, oh, Mr. Malaby Dealey, a stout fig leaf. The second part of Chapter 4, Motley. Invest me in my motley, give me leave to speak my mind. Motley's the only wear. As a quote. The privilege of the court fool is that he can tell the plain ordinary truth to the king, even with the executioner standing by, axe in hand, and risk not his head. But he must be wearing his cap and the bells. Let him come but dressed as a courtier, and make the same painful jest, and the headsman will step forth to relieve him of his poor quality thinking piece. The Greek who was employed to tell his Alexander after each glorious triumph that he too must die, must have worn some shred of motley. You cannot say that sort of thing without the dress which liberates. It was the same with Diogenes. He got in so many home truths in an intolerant age because he lived in a tub. That tub was his motley. Our tramping gear is ours. There are clothes which rob you of your liberty, and other clothes which give it to you again. In the sinister garb called morning dress, you are a close prisoner of civilization. But in the tramp's morning dress, you do not need to mind your step. Oh, the difference between one who has worn silk in the temple, and the same man lying in a cave in smoke-scented tweeds. Of course, it takes some time to break him down. He is still wearing a shadow topper, an invisible cutaway coat weeks after he has started into the wilds. The same with a lady of fashion. She puts a hat over the glory of her hair to hide the primitive Eve. She will be still thinking this false headgear long after she has changed into a forest nymph. Motley has a double advantage, not used by Shakespeare in his admirable clownings. It not only perhaps enables a man to jest shrewdly with the prince, it enables a prince, if he will put it on, to talk freely with an ordinary poor man. The cat can look at the king, and the king can look at the cat. Class is the most disgusting institution of civilization, because it puts barriers between man and man. The man from the first-class cabin cannot make himself at home in the steerage. He can have conversations with his fellow man down there, but fellow man will be standing to attention like private in the presence of an officer, or standing defiant like prisoner in presence of a condemnatory court. It is not the fault of the bottom dog, the proletarian. He scents a manner. Your bearing cannot be adjusted to equality. You are not on the level with him. You cannot rid your voice of its kind note. Damn it, don't be kind to me, say the eyes of the third-class passenger, but you cannot get rid of that absurd, unwanted, kind look, that "tell me, my dear man" expression. And here's a bit of verse. "How are you, aged man?" I said, "and how is it you live?" But his answer trickled through my brain like water through a sieve. Yes, whatever replies will seem a little bit irrelevant, like the answers to the visiting rector going the round of his parish, he having the next drag hunt on his mind. But in the tramp's motley you can say what you like, ask what questions you like, free from the taint of class. It also puts you right with regard to yourself. You see yourself as others see you, and that is a refreshing grace wafted in upon an opinionated mind. The freedom of speech and action and judgment which it gives you will breed that boldness of bearing which, after all, is better than mere good manners. It allows you to walk on your heels as well as on your toes, and to eat without a finicking assortment of forks. It aids your digestion of truth and of food, and aids snutrition as good air does good porridge. All that highfalutin advice which Kipling wrote in If may be left in its glum, red lettering pasted on your bedroom wall, if you will only put on the tramp's Motley. What must I do to inherit eternal life? The answer to that question is not adequately stated in that If of talking to mobs without losing your virtue, and to kings without losing the common touch, or in the If of making a heap of all your winnings and staking them in a game of pitch and toss. The answer of the Evangel is to take up the cross and follow me, which may be interpreted indulgently for what our purpose here. Take up thy staff, and the common burden of thy shoulders, the motley of the pilgrim and the tramp.